Did you know that not one, but two characters who only appeared in the first movie of the franchise are also going to appear in Despicable Me 4? And no, neither of them is Vector. We've uncovered several exciting details about the upcoming Gru and his family film, including the minions that you'll surely love discovering. Just stick around until the end of the video and I'll tell you all about it. Vector and the Moon. To start with, we have to talk about the biggest revelation in Despicable Me for the past 14 years, the return of Vector. Many people may not even remember, but the story of Despicable Me only exists because of Gru's arch nemesis, since the supervillain adopted the girls just to gain access to Vector's mansion. In other words, the villain who looks like Bill Gates was, in the end, responsible for bringing the family together. And after 14 years, he resurfaced where he was left, alone on the moon. Well, almost alone. That's because after some time, he had the company of that minion who drank the gravitational potion early in the first movie. Remember him? Yes, it's him. As we can see, he's still holding Dr. Nefario's laboratory container. Even though more than a decade has passed for us, in the franchise's story, it hasn't been much more than 2 years since Vector was left stranded on the moon. Although we've had a bit of nostalgia seeing the showman again, it's almost certain that he won't appear in Despicable Me 4, as in the end of Moon, he ends up on Mars, only in his underwear. But that doesn't prevent him from making a cameo at the end of the next film with a setup for Despicable Me 5. However, there's a strong chance that someone closely connected to him will be the main villain in the fourth film of the franchise. We're talking about Mr. Perkins. Mr. Perkins is none other than the owner of the Bank of Evil, the largest financial institution that lends money to villains like Gru to achieve their elaborate schemes. And, furthermore, he's simply Vector's father. So, he certainly holds a grudge against Gru for sending his son literally into space. It's very easy to imagine a scenario where the evil banker is behind a plan to take down Gru out of pure revenge. After all, blood is thicker than water, isn't it? Moreover, it's already confirmed that the official voice actor for Mr. Perkins is cast in the film, which means he will have an important and villainous role. With a lot of money in his hands, he could hire any villain to harm Gru or his family. And there's no shortage of people wanting to take down Gru, as he works for the Antivillain League and has apprehended some very dangerous figures. He has so much money that he could even locate the girl's family. We know that Margot, Edith, and Agnes have been together for a long time, but it has never been revealed what happened to the girl's parents, which could open the door for them to perfectly appear in Despicable Me 4. And of course, it would be all for money, as they probably were never good parents. It would be an absolutely incredible plot twist to see this happen, don't you agree? Have you ever thought about it? If you haven't heard of this before, I think just this mind-blowing information would be worth your subscription to this channel. By doing that, you'll receive the best videos about the world of movies and animations. Sure, the girls lived in an orphanage, but not everyone in that place lost their parents. Some were simply abandoned, and that might be the case for the three sisters. Three sisters, at least for now, because there's a great chance that in the next film, we might have a baby on board. Gru and Lucy finally got married, and even though the girls consider Lucy their mother, it doesn't mean that the Anti-Villain League agent doesn't want to be a mother again. It would be absolutely amazing to see, at the end of the movie, Gru, the girls, and the minions waiting at the hospital for Lucy to come out with a completely bald child who looks just like Gru, don't you think? It would be great to see how the girls would act now as older sisters to a new baby. Especially Agnes, who's used to being the youngest. But something tells me she would be an extremely protective older sister, don't you think? Furthermore, we could also see in the upcoming films Gru teaching the little one to create contraptions worthy of a great ex-villain's child, which would remind us a lot of everything we've seen Gru go through in his childhood, as his mother always despised him and he never had his father around, as they divorced and each raised one of the twins. In fact, Drew revealed that the twins' father was very proud of the scams his other son committed. New villains. There's a 100% chance of new characters emerging in Despicable Me 4 because, after all, that's what the franchise is all about, villains. And just like Gru, who developed the skills of one of the world's greatest anti-heroes without knowing that his father was also a villain, we can deduce that this tradition has existed for a long time. And not only that, it's quite possible that it has spread to other members of Gru's family whom we haven't met yet. Yes, I said yet! That's because rumors suggest that at least one of the new villains in Despicable Me will be a relative of the twin brothers. This would make a lot of sense and prove that the family's DNA has strong tendencies toward villainy, even if they aren't bad people. The most likely of all, from what we've heard behind the scenes, is that we will be introduced to Gru and Drew's uncle. Probably another twin, yes, another one of their father. Because even though their mother is a terrible person, it's clear that the inclination for committing crimes came from their father's side of the family. Anti-Villain League. After getting his job back, Gru is determined not to lose it again. So much so that the end of Despicable Me implies that he's even willing to arrest his beloved, newly discovered twin brother, just like his eternal henchmen, the Minions, since they have a noticeable tendency to commit crimes. After all, it seems like they were born for it, right? But even though it's part of his job, perhaps at some point, Gru will have to choose between the League and his brother, especially if someone from within the League isn't as good as they seem and is planning to eliminate all the villains in the world once and for all. This could even put Gru himself at risk, as he might be seen as a threat by this person within the Antivillain League. And there's a good chance of this happening, seeing Mr. Perkins and the League president working together to make it happen once and for all. If you're a Despicable Me fan like us, comment #Gru down below to honor the coolest former villain in history, Lucy's family. In fact, it would be even more amazing if the person orchestrating a wicked plan from within the Antivillain League was someone closer than we can imagine. Don't get it? Don't worry, we can explain. Throughout the 3 Despicable Me movies and the 2 Minions movies, we've seen some information closely related to Gru's family. But when it comes to Lucy's family, we know very little or practically nothing. So, can you imagine how mind-blowing it would be if someone from Lucy's family turned out to have cruel tendencies and was one of the founders of the Antivillain League? Furthermore, have you thought about how the League might have been created due to an ancient feud between a family that defended justice against a clan that loved being full of villains? It wouldn't be too far-fetched to imagine that the first family consisted of Lucy's ancestors and the second one consisted of Gru's ancestors, passing down their life missions and DNA tendencies to go their separate ways. I know this is a somewhat far-fetched theory, but it's been circulating on the internet for some time and could fit well into the 4th Despicable Me movie, don't you think? Finally, the unicorn. Another thing that could happen in Despicable Me is Agnes finally ending up in a place where real unicorns exist. Although we all know that she eventually found a small goat with only one horn, and that's why she considers the little creature her personal unicorn, even sharing a bed with it. Somehow, through some incredible scientific experiment by Dr. Nefario, we could see a real unicorn appearing in the movie. And especially for those who have been following the story since the first movie, this would be simply sensational. If Agnes had 2 unicorns, I think she would never be able to sleep again. Nefario and Gru's mother. Speaking of Nefario, there's also a rather strange theory that suggests the doctor who worked with Gru for so many years to the point of receiving his own farewell fart salute could have an even more important role in the next movie. That's because he and Gru's mother could develop a kind of romantic relationship, which would be a complete nightmare for Gru himself, since Nefario is close to him while his mother utterly despises him. And I'll tell you, liking this woman is very difficult. But still, it's possible that Nefario sees something in her that no other human on the planet has seen, and they start dating. And, of course, Gru would get jealous, maybe as jealous as he was when Margot started getting attention. That's all we know about Despicable Me 4, and we've brought it to you today. It's always great to see Gru and the Minions in a new movie. But while it hasn't hit theaters yet, we'll keep having fun here. So you can enjoy yourself in the meantime, we've left these videos here for you to choose and watch. Thanks!